wrong scene. Aha, there we go. It's me. I was on the wrong scene. Right. Oh, that's the wrong game. There we go. Oh dear. Right, we were covering some concerning things last time. I predominantly building rights and how squads work. I'm still not sure I've quite solved it. I suspect the ultimate solution. Oh, yeah. Um, let's think about this. Where are we? Static buildings. Hang on, I need to navigate to the right place again. Player buildings, right, so... Oh, it's just above it, right, okay. Okay, so let's, So let's say I don't like that anymore. So let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. I think that's where we want it to be. So what we've got is player buildings require upkeep and players can upgrade their bases to the next size up. So what we have now is players in squads and players in solo have equal opportunities to have the same sizes of bases and equal limits and restrictions on them. So the idea now is that as players upgrade their bases, it increases the control zone at the cost of more upkeep. They're still limited by the space. So if you build a base and someone builds a base next to you and you try and expand, then you can't. So your base, you'd have to create a new base somewhere else. But if you can, if you're like king of the hill or something, then there's no reason you can't expand your base up to the next size, expand it out again, and then add an extension and rinse and repeat. Obviously to a limit. Let's say you can go 3 sizes up or something. I just want to change the microphone limits because I'm going into the red sometimes and I don't know why. Okay. There we go. Right. Hopefully that doesn't cause any problems. Good or bad. Test, 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 test. Okay, fine. Sorry. Right. Cool. So, yeah, let's see. So I kind of want to expand on this then. So players can upgrade their bases to the next size up. Players, regardless of group size, will be able to expand their bases in the same way with the same restrictions. Interesting. So another thing, so players can freely have one base each inside a group. If the keep cost based on the size of the base. Yeah, so you could have, 3 people in a group. You could have a base each, or you can have one base that's really big that you maintain, or lots of large bases that you maintain. Well, I say lots, but obviously only one node per person. Something to that effect. So the cons of this, if not balanced well, players can solo players could have choose main. A larger base. Is that noise spell maintaining? Main. Oh, right. There's a. There we go. Solo players could still occupy large areas of the map. I think that's all the only problems I can think of at the moment. We'll just get through this. So if not balanced well, the upkeep could be different. Kept at a standard rate for each tier, i.e. 7 grid slots last a week, 14 last 2, etc. Which would make the keep more consistent. Why can I never spell this correctly? Consist. No. INT? Yeah. Oh. Oh, okay. Why is it not IE? Who knows? Anywho, blah blah blah. So players still occupy large areas of the map. The allowed. Oh. The amount. Oh god. The bases limit should keep solo players in check compared to groups of players, something like that. Right, players squawking to retain their bases. So this is going to be a fun one. So players could get teammates to help them the base, joining the squad and leaving. So this is something I feel like it probably happens in other games a lot, where you've got a base and you get some teammates, they all help you out, and then the leader of the group just kicks everybody. I mean, this happens in bloody MMOs and co-op games where you get to the end gold and then everybody kicks you and you're just left there like, I just did half an hour worth of work for nothing. But it is a possibility I need to consider. Okay, so this allows players to keep their efforts intact without exploited by the squad. What other bad things are there about this? Where are we anyway? I don't know, it's kind of... Oh, I really hate that it does that. Yeah, so basically get teammates to help me with the base, join the squad and leaving, keeping all the loot and everything. I wish this would work better, but whatever. We down here some. Yeah. Okay, is there something else wrong with this? Nah, I can't think of another negative thing for this, to be honest. So this issue is like to be in all games of this nature, and just the way things can be between players. It's kind of a deal with it sort of scenario, which is a bit of a crappy solution in some cases, but I feel like if you're joining with players, there's always the risk that they're gonna fuck something up for you and you're screwed. My Twitch chat seems to be having some interesting difficulties here. No source selected. Yeah, that's that. Why? Hang on. That's weird. There we go. Right. Anyway, where did we get to? So, players can control building rights manually. Allows players to gift / on bases. Players can control access to different aspects of the base. So they're really used to this. I don't really think there are cons of giving people complete control over their base. It's kind of the point. Like, it's entirely positive. Because if you give them no controls over it, then, or it's like it's your thing. It's a bit crap, really. I mean, if you've got a base and you let someone join your squad, and then you don't give them permissions to access like specific chests or rooms or something, then that's up to you. And that's kind of like, it's your base. Even if you're friends with them, it shouldn't necessarily give them complete access. So I'm going to put NA in these because I don't think there is anything negative about this. And other than potentially the implementation side of things. Cool. So that's that stuff sorted. It's annoying that it doesn't snap to these, but whatever. Yeah, I don't think I want this anymore. Or even a consideration at the moment. Okay, what else can we carry on with? Raiding. Fun times ahead. Oh my god, alright. Very difficulty. Don't know why I called it that. I think my intention was to make it so small debate solos and large groups would have the same raid times. It should mostly be on the player, like how many doors do you have to your base? Because something I don't see much is when people have like multiple exits to their base. I swear, one of the worst base design concepts I've seen in most of these games is where people have a single point of entry and exit. And it's like you're screwing yourself over because if you can only come and go from one location, the enemy players are going to have no problem keeping you out of coming out of that particular door. So like, I appreciate you limit the you kind of, if you had, let's look at it in layers. If you had, if you just had a back door that almost immediately went to your core, then obviously if the enemy team knows about this, then you're screwed. They just breach one door and then the next. And then if the rest of your base is like 3 or 4 layers, then that's the problem. But you could, for instance, have it so it's a one way. So you have a door that leads to a drop down that they can't get up. So if in my game, unlike Rust, you can't just randomly put ladders and stuff everywhere, the idea could be that you have an exit door that falls down onto a platform, so the door's up here, and there's no vaulting or anything. And obviously you've got the height advantage, and you could peek up over and there's a stairs and then the door. You could be on here and you could open it and shoot people down below. And then and you can leave your base in a one-way system. And so when you're being raided, you're not just poking out from round the obvious angles from your base. You can like sneak round the side and shoot them in the back or something. That's what I'm thinking anyway. Yeah. Yeah, so if that's the case, I mean, this is just on them. Let's get rid of that. Raid alarm. Interesting. So this is something that, again, in Rust is quite a unique concept. I believe, if I remember correctly, the game has a built-in system to send notifications from in the game server to you personally to tell you when your base is being attacked. Now, I'm not sure I'm going to have offline raiding as a possibility, or at least you can initiate a raid, and if the person logs off during that time, then you can carry on. But I feel like you shouldn't be able to initiate a raid on somebody who isn't currently online. Um, maybe. Because SPL offline raiding just kind of defeats the point. This is like I used to play Ark Survival Evolved. Um, well, just was it always called that? Maybe it was. And you could, I would join a server. I'd be like I don't know, just a random European server, and lo and behold, um, not not because of any other reason than time zones. Basically, I would log off, and then somebody from another country or a different time zone in America or in Russia or China or something would log on when I'm offline and absolutely ruin my base, kill everything, steal all of my stuff, gone every single evening. And I would rebuild the same base in different places every day. And like, Ark's a pretty big world, and I got pretty good at hiding it. But no matter what I did, my base would be ruined by somebody logging in when I'm offline. And Ark doesn't exactly have turrets or means of like, if you have a dinosaur that can break through walls, then you're screwed because you have this thing which doesn't have ammo. It doesn't even have to be very good. They just have to sit there with an auto clicker breaking your doors and stone walls and stuff to pieces. And it's like, obviously they were putting a lot of effort in. The irony, of course, was that I didn't never manage to amount to anything because they killed me every evening. So it would take me the following evening to recover where I left off, and then they would destroy my base again. And obviously, there's nothing there because I've spent all of the resources on making the base again. So, kind of pointless for them, I suppose. After I learned the game better, I realized how trivial what they were doing actually was. Maybe we could just come over with some high-end dinosaur and a couple of clicks of the mouse and they've like ruined my entire base. So it was a lot more trivial than I anticipated. But in any other game, like even in Rust, you have to commit a lot of resources to breaking somebody's base open, and time. Anyway, so I guess, what does offline raiding do or not do? Let's change this to limited / no line raiding. Hmm. Okay, let's just change it to no offline raiding. Let's be very specific about God's sake. So let's say there was no offline raiding. So players can play game when they like without risk of bases being destroyed. Whilst, wow, that was the worst spelling ever, or typing even. What else do we have? I keep like sinking into the mists of my chair. Right. Let's pull this back there. Right. Or risk of their base being destroyed. What's that line? Hmm. that is really that's the whole point and the only point as far as I can see. There's nothing more to it really. Yeah. And the downside is, oh yeah. PvP. Oh, sorry, and be specific about this. Base raiding could be quite limited on small servers slash players in. Hang on, let's approach these as two different ones. So players in different time zones to the broad server player base could go uncontested forever. So like if you're on a server, so if I played on an American server, where is it? West. Can't remember what side it is, so I was possibly close to this. Is it north and south? It would be quite different. It's like Canada and southwest. They're like -6 hours to me or something. Hard to remember. Anyway, so like if I joined a server, even if it had low ping, that had players on it from a completely different time zone, I could essentially abuse it to play on a PvP server and be like one of the only people online most of the time. But I suppose you could raise the argument of why the hell would I do that? Why would I play a PvP orientated game to avoid the PvP? When I could just play like a PvE server. I guess anyone can do that. Yeah, I don't know. Alright, so the first one, base rating could be quite limited on small servers. Isn't that kind of the problem anyway? If you're on a small player base server, you're always going to have problems raiding people. Even because there's not that many people to start with, and if you go around raiding everyone all the time, like if you're in Rust, you just raid every single base constantly back to back. You get raiding materials, break into someone's base, maybe use their materials to break into someone else's, and rinse and repeat. Like inevitably, you either run out of resources to do it and time to do it, or you scare everyone off of the server, and then you're left with nobody on the server anyway. So it's kind of a bit self-detriment. Yeah, you're just kind of screwing yourself over at that point. Can you solve that problem? I don't think so. And what would you do about it? If you're on a small scale server, are you doing it by choice? Possibly. And I mean, like, these games don't attract, well, they don't know, shit, I tell a lie, there are Rust servers, like 1,000 people on them somehow. I don't know how that works. It's a lot of people. I mean, I consider 50 people in a game of that nature quite a lot. That's like you go to most places and there's usually a person. Like if there's only 50 towns that you can like, even if like Deadside's got like 35 nodes, POIs, something like that. I mean, let's have a look. Real quick. I'm guessing is that. So like there's so this is quite a big map. So like typically, so you spawn randomly. Like I usually make a base up here. And when I do my rounds, I could spend 4 or 5 hours going from the base that I usually make here. I'll go to this town, go here, go here, go here. Maybe there's a spawn up mission up here or here. It could take me like nearly 4 hours to go around here because maybe I die here and I have to go back and pick stuff up and go back and forth and then go. And so like I'm one person and I'm confined to approximately this size, which is about a grid radius. So if you think about 50 people being on the server, and assuming they're actually doing something, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 25-ish sections of grid. But, you know, and if there were 25 people on, some of those people were going to be playing with each other. So, you know, they're going to be in groups, squads. So maybe you're looking at 15 people in total, both groups and individuals, right? You know, the groups are going to be running around together, but you treat them as one item. And even then, map this size, you could barely run into each other. You might hear maybe someone fighting around here, or hear somebody over there, and maybe they run over or something. But like, unlikely. So like, what do you do on a 10-player server? Is raiding even possible? Probably not. Huh, I didn't realize it had this. I mean, I've never actually used this. Well, I think I used the map once a while back. Oh man, it has duck markers? Hell yeah. Huh. Well, it's missing some, that's for damn sure. And is this one more up to date? I don't know. What in the duck? Yeah, because there's ducks over there and some over here. I guess these edited by different people, maybe. Fascinating. Anywho, yeah, so maybe it's just a common problem. Maybe you don't solve this. I mean, do you create limited areas where people can go? If you have a map size of 20, do you just cut off half the map or something to force them into close quarters with each other? Because I mean, it's already pretty traumatic to die in some of these games. Like in, at least in old Deadside. So like, you know, you used to be able to spawn at any town. So you die and you select one of these points and it would just like spawn you, you know, if you select here, you'd spawn over here or here or here or something. And now you don't, so now you spawn literally anywhere on the map. So it's entirely possible for people to never meet. There are only 10 people on the server. Because the safe zones, that you would assume are the places people back and forth a lot, and they kind of do. But I think once you get to a certain stage in the game, you you end up just going back and forth between your base and the local missions. Yeah. So I need to take note of these water sources as well. um because there's some here. These maps don't seem to have been updated very much if at all. Hmm. Anywho, yeah. Trying to think if there's any way. Hmm. I wonder if I could manipulate the mission spawns to force players to get close to each other. So let's say for the sake of argument, there's 20 people on the server. So again, let's just, can I? Right, cool. Just using this map as a nice example. Looks better than mine. Let's say for the sake of argument, we had 10, 15 players on the server. And there's like 5 up here, 5 over here, 5 over here. And I could make it so that the only missions that tend to spawn were over here. Right, so I could find the approximate central location of all players currently on the server. And I could poll it so every like 40 minutes or hour or so, this central location updates and then it tries to spawn missions. And so I could spawn like one mission here, one there, one up here, but then there'd be like 3 over here. And so if you do go and do the missions over here, and you go back to base, you go, oh, where's the next one? And it's like, oh, it's over here. And the players over here do the same. Like, oh, okay, well now we've got to go down here. And like they could do that. Or I could not have, or they could all have a mission somewhere. And when you complete a mission in this area, it spawns a mission in this area. And it like slowly brings them closer. So the mission would complete up here, and it would find that there's only missions over here. So it'd spawn the next one down here, and then if out of sheer coincidence this person finished theirs as well, this one could be the only one that spawns. So then these players and these players would now be potentially going over here. Yeah, so I could think of some clever ways to do it where it doesn't look forced necessarily. Because when I played on a 40 player server on this particular game, um, the map was had like 5 missions around here. There's like one down here, one over here, and one up here. And after about an hour, there was like 2 over here, 2 over here, 2 over here, and almost none over here. So it's like it kind of like as they collapse and they collapse and expand as they get completed. It's almost like the map switching sides and stuff with them. They kind of adjust accordingly. Um, and I mean, even when there's like, for 40 people, there was still only 7 missions on the entire map. So it's still going to somewhat guarantee players grouping together. Yeah, so I think that's pretty cool. Possibly a good approach to it, perhaps. Hmm. Yeah, I need to play this game more, and I need to try and spawn over here and see what the fights and zones around there are like. I don't think I've ever been, or I think I've been once, and it takes so long to get down here, and to build a base somewhere is pretty tricky. Because you'd need to go from the safe zone, and therefore you need to take all your stuff over there. However, there is now a railway system, and it's possible to end up. Do they have it on here? No, they don't. But I think there's a sister point over here, and you can fast travel to it. You get all of your stuff, and then you can go and do what you like. Something to figure out. Okay, so this might be a bit more convoluted to write, but um, the we can set up a system so that missions spawn in such a way that players are forced closer together by finding the average center occasion of all players online. I think that's a good solution to that. And then players in different time zones. Yeah, I mean, why are they playing on a PvP and only playing PvE? Not much more to say about that one. Hmm. Yeah, okay. Um, right. There's central node. Yeah, okay. So, this will ensure that only a certain amount of ensure that players can base at time and simplify. Oh. The base area, the base controls and system. So, it's just a central point, and you just do a radial scan, and like if somebody put something down too close, all I have to do is every time they move, I can just do a radial check and be like, there's somebody too close to you. And that's something I really want to encourage in my game, is which I can admit is going to be quite a challenge, but I can think of some approaches to doing it. But so, can I do this on? This is raiding. Oh, I'm not sure why I've got this under raiding. It should be under player buildings. Right. Ahem. Um. yeah, so a system I really wanted to incorporate, and then I might put this in. I might move this around later, but so this is player building. So all building parts will show areas they can be placed nearby without issue. So like something that really bugs me in a lot of games is like you have this building system and it's like, yeah, you can put all these things down and it's like you go across and the schematic comes up and you get this big representation of the thing you're trying to build. You know, this big red thing comes up and then it changes to green or blue when it finds a location it's happy with. And I'm like, you could spend half your life trying to faff with these things to get them to go in a decent location, and it really pisses me off when there's like one spot and you can't quite get the angle right, and like the game knows where it can go, you know where it can go, but there's no like what you want, particularly in something like Rust, which gets me a lot, is you just want a button that you press down or toggle, and then you just pan around, and it will either like scan for the nearest available slot, and it will just try rotations to find adequate spaces with the object you've got. You know, it could just literally find something, a slot of a certain size, and just go, can it go in here? And just go, nope, but it can go here. And it will just find like the next nearest thing, because like it's doing those calculations anyway. You know, when you go into building mode, every time you move your mouse around, it will perform whatever checks it needs to decide whether or not the static mesh will collide with anything. So if you're going to sit there and it's going to try and do it constantly as you're like panning your cursor around the room, can it not just do it for you? And it just preemptively scans the entire area, tries whatever thing you've got, and just pans it around at all possible angles or at like fixed degrees. So it could try it like every 15 degrees, it just rotates the object round on the floor at certain like distances or something. And then you just get this nice little section on the floor, and it will be like red where it can't go and green where it can. So as soon as you press the building part that you want to put somewhere, it just instantly goes, here's where you can go. And then it can just snap to the first available slot. You know, it doesn't have to force you to do anything. You can still finagle it, you know, move it around randomly to see if it will find anything else. But at the very least, I can then just have a button where you press it and it just toggles it to the next nearest spot to where you're looking. So you don't have to spend, like if you're placing chests in a line, and they don't snap to each other naturally, like you've got an arbitrary placement game, so you can rotate them at weird angles and shit. I could just calculate you know, with that system, you just put a point, you know, grid of a certain distance, and at each grid slot that doesn't already contain something, so you can instantly narrow it down to that. And then you just rotate the object. You go, can it, can it, can it, can it, can it? And obviously, because they're same one end and the other usually, then you only have to do it 5 times on each point. And then the player can just hold shift or something. You pan the mouse around, and rather than it flicking like it's now wherever you're looking, it just snaps to the nearest available point So as you move around, if it goes closer to another point, it just snaps it to that. And anywho, ran over. That's what I'm going to implement. So this will make it much easier for players to replace building parts. It's more intricate than snapping points, and will simplify. Building process. Okay, so problems. This might be an intensive process. Okay, so the player will be triggering a similar, if not identical, process each time they move the mouse. So we might as well repopulate applications for them. Good. Right, that's where I'm going with that. Yeah, so all players could. Oh, we got miles away. Jeez. All building parts show as it can be placed nearby without issues. Much use of might be intensive process triggering. Okay, cool. Right, I am happy with that. Oh man, stuff is getting pretty big. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I can already think of the logic for calculating this sort of stuff. Everything in here is like fairly straightforward. I mean, like upkeep, for instance. All I would have to do is store a date time. I just have a value linked to the player's central node in the database, and then every minute or so it would just use the relevant fuel. It would just do a detriment to every single building node value in the list. It's like nothing, no problem at all. And then when it gets to that point, it will go on a timer. From that point, it will store like a date timestamp or something. It could even pre-calculate when it's going to go out, and then that updates every time you give it more fuel, just as another property, and then it just checks it later. And if the time on the server ever goes past a certain point, it just basically deletes your base. Or let's say it disassociates the base with you, and then anyone can claim it, and then after a certain point, blah blah blah. So let's think about that real quick, because I haven't put any thought into that. It'd be nice to get something for it. So let's say can we do, it's like Alt Shift? No, okay. Hang on. Right. So this will be player bases that run out of upkeep lose their lose their ownership, and after X time. Oh, that's interesting. After X time, get destroyed, get removed completely. Player bases. Oh, that. Player bases that run out of upkeep lose their ownership, and after X time get removed completely. Player bases, and then we have player bases that have run out of upkeep. Become claimed by the next player, assuming they don't have a base already. That contributes fuel to the central node. Is there ownership? Oh, how are the players going to get in? Now I could force open all the doors. So let's just expand this as like a separate thing here. So when a base has lost all upkeep, the ownership is blanked. It's lost all upkeep. Hang on, let's do the following occurs. The ownership is blanked. All doors are opened. All permissions are removed. The next player to fuel that base, assuming they don't really have one, gets ownership of it. Closing all doors and setting all missions as if it was built by them. Does that work? That's kind of done the thing I thought it would, but... Oh, that's done it. Okay, fair enough. It works just like that. Cool. Let's say after one day, maybe 2 days gets after 2 days gets removed completely. I quite like that as a concept. So it's like in Rust, because all the building parts have health, it just starts doing damage to the base. But I like the idea that the base kind of opens itself up, and then someone just walks in, can take stuff, or if the player who hasn't maintained it didn't pay attention, their base opens up, and then uh, if you've still got, if you had fuel still in your base, and someone could just like put it in and refuel it, and then suddenly they've got your base, which is fair enough. I think it's better than how it works in other games at the moment. And by opening all the doors, um, maybe it's a bit different than that. And like it will allow anyone to open the doors, but the doors won't actually open necessarily. So players will still have to check, but perhaps when you come into the control zone, it tells you that you've entered like an unoccupied base. Seems reasonable. Oh, goodness me. Well, yeah, it's an hour. I suppose I could. Might as well stop and carry on again tomorrow. Yeah, might as well. Cool. Yeah, lots more to think about. I haven't even got onto the actual design of the code yet. I mean, I've done some of it previously, but a lot of this stuff doesn't exist as a concept yet. So I need to add in the idea of buildings and building parts and nodes and how control zones work, and then permissions, and start doing diagrams with various use cases and sequences and all that kind of stuff. Because we're a good working software engineer that follows the correct approach to design. Even if this takes another year or something, I would rather go through this process the entire way than risk not thinking about these things in advance. And this is kind of the fun part. I feel like a lot of people put a lot of stake in the actual development of stuff like this, and it's like actually the more interesting part usually is thinking about how all of the stuff's going to work. Because like implementing it's like, oh yeah, okay, another couple hundred lines of code, and oh, we need 12 different classes to handle this system, and now we need a more database design for this thing, and oh, we need networking for this, and it's like, yeah, it's great for a bit. The basics are fun, making somebody run around and shoot and AI and things, but unfortunately, at the end of the day, you start running into bugs, and you have to actually sit there and write hundreds and hundreds of lines of code, because some of these concepts like this might be really complicated to actually implement, and blah blah blah. I mean, I know most of this actually isn't. I think most of this is very basic concepts, data manipulation mostly. But yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I'll probably export this as a PDF at some point and put it up as a I've been doing game design, and here's some ideas I've come up with for it, or an approach to doing it anyway. Cool, right, I'll see you guys around.